using our zoom in lens in descriptive writing to capture the minor details of a writing style. And I think the most beautiful part about writing is when you pay attention to very similar things but in a different way. How similar things and how in a different way we are going to explore through our descriptive writing. This was highly requested by most of the students, and so I'm definitely going to do it. Maybe from grade 11, Haya Miraj, if you're listening, and Dareen from 10A, even my 10C, 10B, never to forget you, and 10D, who can, you are the most calm class of the entire corridor. So, really missing you all, because I get to see these empty chairs, but however, we are equally motivated and communicating with you through technology. So yes, that comes with argumentative, topic. I'm going to deal with argumentative topic, how technology has basically relieved our lives. It is a blessing. So I'm going to deal with that topic. But coming back to descriptive writing, I just wanted to have this little warm up with you all, so that's why I chatted a little bit through this lens, and we've got descriptive writing. So this has to be my the expectations from all the students, that when they are writing descriptive, and if you're really good at it, if your teacher recommends and you think that you're smart in it, then definitely go for this question. By the way, one important thing to remember: descriptive by nature, by the very phrasing of the question, it appears to be quite simple and easy. But when you write it down about people, places, physical description of the buildings, or the facial features of the different characters, their personalities, their moves, their actions, everything is going to count in. And so yes, it is rather a more challenging task. It's not an easy one that you're telling a story. Why? Because we need to show the picture. We cannot just say the lines, say I was sitting in the classroom. I cannot say that way. I have various ways to express and create a photograph of the scene. I repeat myself again: to create a picture of the scene, create a photograph of the scene. Have a look at this one, the very first slide. Please focus over here. To get you thinking, which do you think is more effective, sentence A or sentence B? Sentence A: the water was very still and calm, reflecting the sky. Sentence B, while says, mirrored in the still and silent river, the endless sky seem to call out to me. Endless sky seem to call out to me. I'm using already personification when I give, a living quality to an abstract idea or a non-living thing. Calling out to me is an action verb, and this is personification. Which is more effective, sentence A or sentence B? I get to see a lot of hands going up right over there. Yes, is it sentence B? It is sentence B. Why? Because look at the sentence structure. Mirrored, and it has the noun, as in like the water was very still. But this one is starting with past participle, mirrored in the still and silent river. By the way, if you pay attention to S sounds over here, where's my marker? My marker is there. I love descriptive writing. I really enjoy, really love my subject, and I hope my students are keeping up with me. So over here we have S sound, if you pay attention, still, silent. Then we have again S, then we have S, then we have S. So the incremental repetition of S sounds are creating soothing effect. And this is what we call the art, the beauty of writing. The sounds are even speaking to us, and they're saying it's very serene, calm, peaceful, tranquil. I'm using a lot of words. And I created an effect, by the way. This will help you in paper 2, narrative passage, meaning and effect. By the way, they don't ask you to make the meanings or the effects of the sounds, but as a language lover, you need to know all these expressions as well. So sentence P is the most effective one. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, my grade 10s and 11s, even if you're not part of the Hajjussain school system, but if you're listening to me, if you're listening to us as a team from the Hajjussain school system, and you are a part of English language community, you are a student, you are struggling, or you are perhaps looking for very good ways of revising the topics, please pay attention to this task tip. Verbs of locomotion describe more than just any movement. They convey the gender, mood, and personality of the character. What I'm trying to say is, look at the sentence. First of all, read the sentence and you will be able to understand. The man was walking along the street. Demand for descriptive writing is, show me the picture, present me a photograph of the scene, zoom in the idea. You need to create a powerful writing style. You need to have a lot of group words at the same time. And if you have been ignoring it and had not revised it, you better hold on to your pen and paper and you better revise it. So we've got the man was walking along the street. Very simple sentence. I don't see the crispness in it. I don't listen to it. It's not that shining, a high momentum sentence. Look, when I'm talking about this, descriptive writing does not mean that you're using difficult vocabulary. Difficult vocabulary is not the solution. Again, don't swallow the dictionary. Just use them appropriately. Over ambitiousness of the use of the vocabulary is not required. Overtly ambitious you are and you're using so many of the expressions. I hope this sentence is a message to some of my students, and I would want them to use them, but appropriately. Over here, now look at the sentence that I've revised over here. The ancient bearded man, I'm using adjectives. What am I using? Adjectives. For example, marvelous Mahanur, maybe. I'm using an adjective to describe one character's name, perhaps the personality. Over here, verbs of locomotion describes more than just any movement. Look at the way they're communicating more about the gender and age. Gender, man, ancient age, ancient bearded man in his tattered grey overcoat and filthy shoes. Overcoat, filthy shoes, was shuffling along. Shuffling is a sound word. What do we call this sound word? Onomatopoeia. Learn to spell it correctly. Okay? Onomatopoeia. 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 Learn to say it correctly. Was shuffling along the damp and littered pavement. Damp and littered pavement. I'm not saying, just look at the dullness of this sentence. The man was walking along the street. And look over here, I've got colors. So I'm going to say that this is making use of visual imagery. Visual, I can see it. I've got colors over here. I've got gray, shuffling, verb of locomotion, because it's more than just any movement. And then I've got description, filthy, damp, and littered pavement. So this is what is expected when we are going to deal with our descriptive writing. Let's move on to this activity. Okay. So what I can explain you, by the way, this picture resonates a lot of my students' level of mutual compatibility. So literally in this picture, it is shown that there are two siblings, both are brothers. We are expecting, obviously, but just imagine you and your best friend, you know, it could be that way. And you are being asked to describe this picture. What I'm trying to do is, visual clues can really help you to describe well, in terms of colors, in terms of the little details that we need to cover up, or perhaps how they feel. And over here you see them from behind, and they're walking, treading onto this, you know, this path. So over here I'm giving you this task, by the way. This is highly important if you really want to grip on to descriptive writing. What I'm trying to focus through this activity is sentence structures. English examiners love the sentence structures. Everyone is telling you, oh, simple, compound, complex sentences, right? But please, you know, through this session, we are trying to, revisit, trying to revise all those points where you can lack any confidence, maybe in terms of delivering your sentence structures. Usually how they start off with their sentences, I, he, the, you know, these are very monotonous, you know, mundane ways of beginning our sentences. So what I want you to do, write me one paragraph by using your first sentence must start with an adverb. What is an adverb? Usually that ends with ly. It modifies the verb. Your second sentence must, I'm making it a compulsion, my dear students, I'm making it a compulsion. We've got your second sentence must contain only 3 words. 3 words. It's going to be a crisp expression. Your third sentence must contain a semicolon. What is a semicolon? A comma and then a dot over there, a semicolon. Your fourth sentence must be a rhetorical question. Seriously, if you are playing on with all of these, number of sentence structures or sentence variety, you're gaining marks, you are going high, and I'm sure you will, inshallah. Your fifth sentence will start with an ing word. Your sixth sentence will contain a simile or a metaphor. So I solved it, and look at the example. So the first thing you will note, adverb, 3-word sentence, semicolon, rhetorical question, ing word, metaphor, or a simile, any one. Now I'm going to describe this picture keeping in mind these points. So over here, now listen to me carefully. Sadly, I put my arm around his shoulder. Please जरा focus कीजिएगा यहाँ पे. Make sure कि पूरी screen नज़र आ रही है, लेकिन यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा कीजिएगा. Sadly, I put my arm around his shoulder, pulling him close to me. It was terrible. 3 expressions. It was terrible. Mother and father were gone. They couldn't look after us now. How could they do this to us? To their children, trembling, ing word, trembling, I told him that I was his big brother. I would be a lion standing guard over him. Lion standing guard over him. What is this? A metaphor. Metaphor for bravery. Metaphor for shielding his younger brother against all the ills, against all the challenges. So what we are trying to show is, I need some variety, but this is at the basic level. We need a modified level. However, you got the idea that we need to experience and experiment more with the sentence structures. If you open up your past papers, take any of the past papers, 1, 1, 2, 3, paper 1, writing paper, you will notice that descriptive writings are focusing upon people and places in a majority way, or the relationships, but it is all about people and places. So what I've done, I've divided my, this description through describing people and I have done this. I want everyone to raise up their hands or to shout out from there sitting at home and tell me that over here, showing picture in your writing. That where is my simile, where is visual imagery, where is the adjective use? This is exactly the way the examiners are expecting us to write. And again, I'm going to share these slides as well with you in a form of precise booklet. I can give you a photocopy of this as well. So have a look over here. Showing picture in your writing. I began my descriptive writing this session with this idea. A snapshot is one way a writer can develop an idea in a piece of writing. It is showing the reader a photograph of the scene. All right, Ms. Nadia, you have been telling me how to create the picture. What is this? Give me some samples. Here is the ultimate solution to your problem, possible concerns, how we can do that. Just have a look at this one. Now this appears to be quite elaborate, but listen to my words very carefully. I caught the basketball as it ricocheted off the table, sending glass flying all through the room. So we're showing a movement. A boy who has mistakenly, accidentally broken, the glass table. The crash was so loud, it was like two cars colliding. Suddenly, my mother swooped in from the kitchen. She stood there and looked around them. The white pieces of a favorite lamp were strewn all across the unfinished wooden floor. I'm stopping over here. You see, what if I caught the orange basketball? This could have been even more interesting because I'm going to, through this, would give visual depiction, like visual imagery. Ricocheted. Exciting vocabulary word. Ricocheted means bounce back. And when I, 10B, 10D, 10C, 10A, 11, my grade 11s can never forget you. When I usually ask my students how to spell ricocheted, I hope that you are revising really well. Make sure through these sessions, it will be a great help for you that you better know the spellings as well. You know how to write them down as well. So as it ricocheted off the table, sending glass flying. So the crash over here, like has been used, and this is called simile. So let's suppose you are a student who doesn't know what is a simile. So please make sure it's a comparison between two things, in which you are using like or as. So I'm comparing the sound of the crash like two cars colliding. I've got a simile. Suddenly, my mother swooped in from the kitchen. Suddenly, instead of suddenly, what else can we use? We can use in a spur of a moment, within a blink of an eye. So there can be so many other ways also. Abruptly, hastily. Suddenly, my mother swooped. Again, a wonderful expression. Swooped. What do we mean by swoop? It's like, it's a locomotive verb. Again, please make sure that you should never forget what are verbs of locomotion. Describe more than just any movement. So the movement was not like, I've heard my son crashing the table, and being a mother, I'm just walking towards my son. Okay, hello, you've broken the glass table. I'm not going to do that. It's like dashed, shot out of the kitchen, and then try to catch him red-handed. So over here, my mother swooped in from the kitchen. Very powerful expression over there. She stood there and looked around the room. The white pieces of her favorite lamp were strewn all across the unfinished wooden floor. The lampshade had fallen onto my youngest brother's head. He stood there wearing it like a giant sombrero. Again, another simile. Giant sombrero. Sombrero is a Mexican hat, so the lampshade landed on his head. Poor he. And over here, he was very still, but I was certain I could hear his small whimpers echoing inside the shade. His blue UK t-shirt was wrinkled and faded. So the continuation of it is, I watched my mother's eyes slowly survey the entire room until her glare rested on me. The orange basketball I held in my hands was too small to hide behind, but way too large to make it disappear. I held it in front of me like a big sign saying, yes, why, yes, I'm guilty. So he's saying, why, yes, I'm guilty. The red sweatshirt was too small, so my belly button peeked out from the gap between my shirt and jeans. I swallowed hard and began to click through the Rolodex of excuses filed away in my 9-year-old brain. So this was a very powerful visual impression, and that's what we are seeking for in our, the more the exposure, the better you will be writing. Okay, now this one I had talked about let's say 2 weeks ago, but before closing down we were doing this part. This extract is basically taken from Anita Desai's novel called, not the novel exactly, it's a short story, by the way. It's a short story, The Games at Twilight. And what's so interesting about it, she has this art, like all the novelists, like all the story writers, they have this main idea of communicating their feelings through how these places are, creating an impact upon me. The place itself. Just imagine Miss Nadia is definitely talking through the camera, but all these chairs are all empty and vacant. So yes, in the first place, I definitely miss you all, but it's kind of that longingness, to get back to work and to be in touch with my students as soon as possible. So yes, empty spaces do have different kind of impression upon people. Mood is always mood. What do we mean by mood? Mood is basically the ambience, the atmosphere. Atmosphere could be dark, could be dull, could be too hot, just like this part. Focus on describing places. They faced the afternoon. It was too hot. Now I want to know what they faced. They faced the afternoon. It was too hot, too bright. The white walls of the veranda glared stridently in the sun. Glared. Walls are glaring. Again, white walls, visual imagery and personification. The bougainvillea hung about it, purple and magenta. Purple, magenta, color, visual imagery. In livid balloons, the garden outside was like a tray, simile. Tray made of beaten brass, flattened out of the red gravel and stony soil in shades of metal. You might not be able to compose exactly like this, but what is the best part about this session is that to give you a clear idea to make your wise choices in the exam paper. Please bear in mind that if you're going for descriptive writing, you need to be confident about using not only the sensory images, which are visual image, auditory image, olfactory image, that is olfactory, sense of smell, and then sense of taste, gustatory image. We have done this in the class. I did features of descriptive writing, and while I was showing you the differences between narrative and descriptive is all about the scene. While you have a story, the entire plot frame in the narrative writing style, you better make sure you make a wise choice. And the benefit of this session is there are so many others, but one thing that I would want you to look at is to, in the most effective way you are jotting down the basics of writing the sentences. Making sure that you're using similes, because that is what is required in narrative writing also, but with a little variation. The birds still drooped like dead fruits. Birds, it was too dry, it was a harsh atmosphere depicted. How would you think that birds would be chirping all the time? No, it isn't possible. So we are using these, and pay attention to the description. The outdoor dog lay stretched as if dead on the veranda mat, his paws and ears and tail all reaching out like dying travelers in search of water. Again, simile. He rolled his eyes at the children, two white marbles rolling in the purple sockets. I love this expression. Two white marbles rolling in the purple sockets, begging for sympathy, and attempted to lift his tail in a wag but could not. A very lethargic effect is created out of this dog. He's just lying, stretching himself on the dry land. So yes, describing places, describing buildings. And what can help you? Different pictures can help you. Have a look at this one. My lovely dear students, my intelligent students, I would want you, even if you're not going for descriptive writing as a question, but you make sure, even for story writing, what you do is to develop visible thinking routines, and that's human psychology that we sustain more, because I'm a language person, so I believe that there should be more engagement with the reading of the novels and looking at pictures. This way we would explore more writing styles. So over here, so what do we see in this picture? You see there is this a big piece of land that has been devastated, destroyed, and here is this father and his two children sitting over here. What has happened over here? See. What can you see? Describe the picture. Think. What do you think is happening in the picture? Wonder, what bigger questions does this picture make you ask? Is it only mankind helpless against nature? What could possibly be done? And then this picture will really help you to devise to construct more in detail writing styles. So we are moving on towards the end. I have a sample over here which is called After the Party, and this is again in the same manner which we have done, but since we are remaining short of time, so I'm going to definitely deal with the practice questions for now, which is a practice question that I'm giving you. Describe the most helpful person and the most unhelpful person, Remember, you can describe their appearances as well as their character and behavior. So over here, most helpful person, this is your home assignment. You better practice. Get this question solved. Make sure that you're sending your messages to me on our WhatsApp group, and inshallah we'll be getting in touch, and I really want to have a feedback from you as how you have practiced. Even for a practice task, you should try writing descriptive. You must try it. And I wish you good luck on behalf of our English department. And it's lovely to have this session, and missing you all. See you inshallah very, very soon. Thank you. हाँ, आज के लिए मेरा इतना काम काफ़ी है।
अब मैं मंडे को आऊँगी। बहुत शुक्रिया आपका, आपने बहुत सब्र के साथ मेरी पूरी अंग्रेज़ी सुन ली। आसिम नाम है ना आपका?
जी जी।
चलिए, अच्छा हो गया।